Well, Emadeddin Badi is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and is a researcher with a focus on Libya. He joins us live from Toronto. Really great to have you on the program. Where do the things stand for Haftar now, both domestically and internationally?
Domestically, on both, I believe that he's on very thin ice at the moment. Domestically, you have to take into account that Haftar mobilized a lot of people, a lot of Libyans, for this Tripoli offensive that hoped that somehow, if he captured Tripoli, they would be included in whatever patronage networks that he would set up. Internationally, as Zubai pointed out, a lot of funding went into this, a lot of weaponry was transferred, a lot of political capital was exerted, and a lot of diplomats had their bilateral relations to a certain extent strained in order to actually enable this offensive to, first of all, be launched and then to continue, because this took a lot longer than expected. It was supposed to be 2 days. We're now more than 400 days in, 15 months in, really, and nothing has been done. Haftar's lost everything, technically speaking. He even lost whatever he had in Western Libya before this offensive. And now the government of national accord is even more emboldened to assert control over more territory than they had before.
Where do you see things going now in Libya? There have been failed attempts at a ceasefire before, and the UN-recognized Prime Minister said that Haftar will not have an opportunity to negotiate after this. What kind of solution could we see in Libya now?
I don't think that we'll have any form of solution that is sustainable, primarily because of the number of states that are now involved in Libya. So you will have to force, to a certain extent, compromise on what Libyans want, realistically speaking, and what foreigners want. And here I'm talking primarily, to an extent, about both Turkey and Russia, which both have their interest and which both have asserted themselves on the Libyan territory militarily. So they are now in Western and Eastern Libya, respectively, and it's very unlikely that they would just pack up and leave after being involved and after exerting being able to really exert this much influence on the Libyan landscape. So in terms of what scenarios we could have in the future, I believe there are primarily two to a certain extent. There is one scenario where a Turco-Russian duo really focuses on carving up spheres of influence for themselves in Libya, which appears to be likely. And there is another scenario where other states attempt to undermine this Turco-Russian duo, albeit not very successfully, but to a certain extent to diminish maybe the extent to which they would entrench themselves both militarily and in terms of political influence on the domestic factions, let's say. I think the fact that there is this number of states involved right now in Libya obfuscates a lot of what the Libyans may want. So unfortunately, we won't have a lot of agency in terms of where the country goes moving forward.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Emadeddin Badi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.